check out the Full Press Hockey Podcast with Jim Biringer, the best in the business. It's going to be great.
Hello, everyone. This is Full Press Hockey here on Full Press Hockey Podcast on YouTube. I'm your host, Jim Biringer, alongside my co-host, David Calabretta. He's our newest writer at Full Press Hockey, covering the Montreal Canadiens. David, thank you for coming on, bud.
Love hopping on, Jim.
Guys, we are going around the NHL. Lots of chatter out there, lots of rumors out there. Early into the season, we have to start up in Montreal. Again, not the way a lot of people wanted the season to start. Started off okay, but it's kind of been kind of a downward spiral. And are people getting panicky, or is it should be a wait and see patient approach like their general manager was talking about?
Well, one word for the Canadiens so far, it's inconsistency, right? And I'd say the media may be impatient a bit, fans impatient, but upstairs, Kent Hughes, Jeff Gordon, they're very patient. They're not, worried is a different word, but I'd say they're not forced or rushed to make a move to hurt the team in the future. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I understand like that. So do you think, because we've been on here before in our last episode, which I'll link into this video, we've talked about how the Canadiens have been looking around the trade market, but it's hard to make a trade this time of year because of the salary cap purposes. Do you think Kent Hughes would be willing and open to move and make a move to help his team, especially, I want to say bottom six, because let's be honest, it probably needs an upgrade, and even the top six too.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely look around. Look, they're not in an ideal spot. They're not a contending team. They're not basement. They're almost basement. They're borderline basement team. And, if there is a position that they'll look for is middle six, and I think Kent Hughes would take on maybe another project guy at a cheap price, because right now, I think they're okay with missing out this year. And, in the mix, they wanted to be in the mix, but at the end of the day, rebuilds, it's not linear. There's ups and downs, and the Canadiens are in the ugly part. And I recently wrote a piece about it. And a top 5 pick wouldn't hurt them this year, to go upgrade on forward or defense. There's a very good top 5 this year. And, we'll follow along the draft later on. But Kent Hughes wouldn't be opposed to adding someone, but, he's not aggressive like some other GMs right now, maybe, or feel forced to make a move.
Does it feel like, because I've been looking at the Colorado situation, because you look at the Avalanche and guys are finally starting to come back like Nichushkin and, Lehkonen is coming back and Miles Wood and Ross Colton, and they're starting to get their depth. Is everybody kind of just waiting on Patrick Laine to get in this lineup and to see how he fits with this team?
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, if Laine was already in the mix and we were struggling, maybe we would have been a bit more aggressive. But, and I reported the other day, he's coming back earlier than expected. Well, hopefully. Because right now it's looking good. He started skating, and it's not as bad as it was. And he could be back as of the end of the month. And
that's really good. That's really good, considering his timeline was a lot longer than that.
Yeah, timeline had him end of December, beginning of the new year. So, we could get a better idea of how this team is when he gets into the fold. And we'll see if it was a success hit. I mean, Kent Hughes didn't pay much for him. No. Jordan Harris. And they got a second-round pick for taking on the contract. So I think they're waiting for Laine to come back here. Like other teams.
Yeah, like other teams, exactly. Like you look around the league, there's teams that dealt with injury. And let me go back to the top 5 pick for a minute, because I think about the New Jersey Devils for a minute compared to the Canadiens and the rebuild. Think about how many top 5 picks the Devils had and who they had, right? And not to mention they got, they made some trades and they got some more first-round picks out of it. But if you look at the guys that they have on their team, Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, Luke Hughes, Simone Nemec, I mean, those are top guys that were taken in the top 5. 2 guys were taken number 1, another guy was taken number 2, and another guy was taken number 4. So you're right. You think about it. Yeah, you wanted to be in the mix, but like you said, maybe adding another prospect and another top line player and another good young player to your team that go with the guys that you have, it might not be a bad idea.
No, and like, look, you can't just build your team off draft picks, right? You
Right.
have to trade for players, you have to sign guys. But look at the best teams in the league, their core, they drafted most of them. The Devils, their core right now, Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, Luke Hughes eventually, Simon Nemec, who didn't make the step yet, but he's going to be one of their guys. You draft these guys, they're main pieces. And top five picks are very valuable.
Yes,
And
they are.
especially this year, if Montreal could get, a little bit of draft lottery luck like the Devils had, Montreal could be a force to be reckoned with next year.
Yeah, and look, Montreal also has pieces teams want. I mean, I'm seeing David Savard's the name out there. Christian Dvorak is another name that's out there. Jake Evans is another name that's out there. Again, it's tough to make these trades now because salary cap purposes, because of you got to take on pretty much the whole deal, and teams are not going to willing to retain. But I could see later on down the line a team like a David Savard, especially him, because he's been moved before at the deadline. I know you want veterans on that back end, but you give the kids a little bit more of a leeway and a development, and I think that's what everybody should have realized this year is like they're playing a lot of their kids. Maybe we expected just a little too much, but to move a guy like David Savard, maybe you could get a nice pick out of that too.
Yeah, and last year they were close. They were close to trading him. He was in rumors weeks leading to the deadline. They were like, we'll wait a bit, make him play next season, and now he's finally a UFA. And the defensive market is not as full of depth as it was last season. So I could, and Dennis Bernstein of the fourth period also said that Savard could get a first round pick for him. If
he did get
the months of February and March.
I mean, Columbus got a first round pick out of it from Tampa, and it was a 3-team trade. So, and I mean, salary cap hit isn't that terrible. And if you can get two teams to retain on it, a contending team would love it.
Yeah, even at 3.5 million, it's not the worst contract, right? But, to maximize his value, for sure. I think he could get a first round pick. It wouldn't be a shock at all. No. And Montreal could use that, not to draft, but to trade and go get someone.
I mean, I think Edmonton would definitely be benefit for a guy like David Savard on their blue line.
Yeah, they're just missing that first round pick this year, though.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, they don't have that first round pick. But the Montreal Canadiens could be drafting high because they have one of Calgary Flames' first round picks that's tied up in that Sean Monahan deal. And as I got to speak with Flames general manager Craig Conroy, he was telling me that, it's difficult right now to make a trade because he doesn't know what pick he's going to be able to move. Now, granted, he does have a Devils first round pick, but it's going to be later in the draft, and we know that. But the fact is, he has to choose one of the two higher picks to probably give away to Montreal, where they land. It's either the Florida pick or his pick, and it's making life difficult because he also wants to add a center. Like he confirmed it. The rumors of them adding a center. Who doesn't want to add a center? Like we documented,
exactly.
Right? Like how many teams would need a center? But, they're looking to keep, Anderson as well. So the Calgary Flames, considering their start, we'll see how the season goes. And I think that's how we're really going to tell what pick is going to get moved in this thing because of how they go in their season.
Yeah, and I don't, maybe I'm in the minority, but I don't think they end up moving this pick at all. It's such a hard pick, the conditions, probably the most complicated trade I ever saw. It took me... It's 2 years since that trade happened. I only understand it now.
Yeah, exactly. Because we got past last year. Like you got past last year, finally.
You don't know what's gonna happen. So, a team's gonna ask for their first round pick. They're gonna be like, we're gonna have to add a bunch of conditions on it.
Yeah.
And Calgary caught us by surprise, right? I had them bottom 3. I think I'm wrong right now. I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs.
No.
But they're also they're gonna be in that period.
Tweener, like that
Montreal
tweener.
owns your pick.
Yeah.
Montreal's going to own that pick as of right now. That's what it looks like.
Yeah. So, look, it's going to be tough for the Flames, but they're playing well, and they've got some players. Again, Anderson's going to be a player that's going to come with value. He's got a year left this year and next on his deal, but I know Calgary wants to keep him because him and Kevin Ball right now are playing well as the shutdown defensive pair in Calgary. So, Calgary Flames are a team to keep an eye on. Another team that could potentially, we're starting to see the fire sale. We've talked about it. When was things going to happen in Pittsburgh? Well, Lars Eller goes to Washington for a couple of picks. Kyle Dubas is starting the rebuild, and maybe ownership is finally on board with this thing. But this is the delicate situation. You're trying to stay competitive, but you know you need to tear it down and retool on the fly. The issue is you're starting it 3 years too late.
Yeah, and it felt a bit forced, don't you find, that
Yes.
Eller trade? I felt
Yeah.
like, it doesn't really help them right now. It just sounded like a message here. And I
Yeah.
think Eller's been one of their better players. I watch him live, and he was, he always plays good against his former team, the Habs. So maybe that just bias there. But, Pittsburgh are starting to sell their guys.
Yeah, and the problem is, like we talked about it last time on last time we were together. It's a lot of unmovable contracts, right? Not too many guys you can move. Very, very tough to move a lot of guys. And I've been on this board and this train for a while. And again, our buddy Dennis Bernstein in fourth period too. You go back to the summer of 2022. You just lost to the Rangers. A lot of guys were free agents. You signed Raquel, Letang, Malkin. You probably should have chose Letang or Malkin, and you shouldn't have chose both. But the problem is the ownership edict was got to win with these guys, and then you keep Tristan Jarry, you bring in Eric Carlson. There's not a lot of guys you can move outside of like the Drew O'Connors, guys like that are really
and
not.
They don't move the needle.
They're not going to move the needle. You're gonna have to convince one of the big boys to like move, like outside of 87.
Yeah, and speaking of that, maybe it's a hot take here, but I think Eric Carlson's going to be on his way out soon. Not this year, but eventually. I think he's not ending his contract in Pittsburgh. I really think he would like a change of scenery because he's getting talked badly out there.
Yeah, no,
and
I think
people aren't satisfied with his play.
I agree. I think if anything, it happens in the summer after the signing bonus money's paid out.
Yeah, I think he's the one out of the four. Letang, Malkin, Crosby, I wouldn't even count him. It's completely up to him. He's gone, Carlson, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think you have to watch Malkin though, because to me, as much as he says he wants to be there, and as much as they want to, there's still value for a player like that can score. And he's only got a year left after this year on his deal.
Yeah.
So there's value, but I don't think it's going to happen because I think they all want to end their careers together. I don't think Letang's contract's going to be moved because it's too bad. But again, you never say never in this business. If it gets really, really bad, maybe 87 moves, but I doubt it.
Yeah, like I said, it's completely up to Crosby at this point. If Crosby goes tomorrow and says, I want to get traded, that's going to happen.
Right.
But Malkin, on the other hand, Letang, I don't think they would want to move.
Yeah.
It's not really necessary unless they really want to chase that other cup. Pittsburgh messed up with they messed up because it's completely up to the players' fate now.
Yeah, because again, it was tough by ownership. It's a delicate balance of being competitive and trying to retool, and they're not doing it, and that they're paying for it. Unlike like Washington, who did it right. You move out, Gustafson, and you get Sandin. You're bringing in different players, and you're staying competitive while it's just not the Alex Ovechkin show. And this is the delicate situation Barry Trotz is in too down in Nashville, because he comes out and is like, oh, I might blow it up. Like, I might rebuild if things don't work, turn around. I'm like, yet you just played fantasy hockey on July 1, bringing in Shea, Stamkos, Marchessault. You brought in Wedgwood. You extended UC Soros for 8 years.
You traded
Askarov. Like, okay, if you look at that team, I think you have to give it more than half a season or a season, because 3 guys literally changed locations and have to get used to a new surrounding, especially the one guy who didn't want to leave Tampa.
Yeah, for sure. And I respect Trotz. He swallowed his pride and he's admitting, maybe I did mess up, but I'm ready to fix it and clean it up. And a lot of GMs won't do that.
No.
So look, Nashville, it's premature. It's very premature. And their division, I could see a way out for them.
Yeah.
But, what did you expect?
No.
He's a rookie GM. It happens. But what did you expect, honestly?
I thought they would be a little bit more competitive than they were because they got out the gate so slow. But
but
I think
it was gonna. Oh, sorry.
No. I just real quick. I was just they're all adjusting to a new system. Shea's got to get used to playing with Roman Yossi. Stamkos has got to get used to this. Marchessault's got the issue is they still can't score.
Yeah, and the problem is it was gonna backfire in 2-3 years from now. What they're signed to have like a long term.
Yeah.
Middle, long term, whatever. But now it just backfiring too earlier. But it was gonna backfire eventually. It was never gonna be a perfect plan.
No, it was never going to be a perfect plan because their window was so short as it was. Like you brought those guys in to be a championship team in 2-3 years. And you messed up potentially the chemistry that was going on with that team last year that got them into the playoffs.
Yeah, they were flying at the end of the year.
Yeah,
so they built on that, and
it didn't work. Right now, it didn't work. I mean, there's still time to turn it around, but again, I think as talking with some people down in Nashville, it was more of a threat than like an actual action but it was a wake-up call to be like, that's something like Lou would do when he was with the Devils. He'd be like, all right, we got to shake something up, just do it, right? And sometimes it will work, sometimes it wasn't. That's why everybody's watching the coach, because if they don't get out of this road trip, the coach could be really on a hot seat and they could be making a coaching change. And look, change is a real possibility there for that team. Because
maybe that's what you need.
Yeah. I mean, either players, coaches, maybe Ryan O'Reilly gets moved at the deadline. But right now, they're kind of still in it. And then you look at a team like Buffalo, right? They make the big move last year. Bo Byram, Casey Middlestad. Middlestad's kind of becoming the player that kind of we expected in Colorado. The depth, not sure he's still that second-line center, but it's going to be that. And now the trade winds are circling around Buffalo and Bo Byram.
It never made sense in the first place. And maybe I'm being negative here, but you had Dahlin on the left, Power on the left, Samuelson on the left, who are all just signed long-term deals, by the way. You're going to acquire Byram to play him on the right? And it's the same thing, not to bring it on Montreal, but with Caden Goulet. He's playing on the right, and you're not getting the best of him because he's not playing in this position. And when you're young, you have to play in your main position to get better in the National Hockey League. So I'm not surprised Byram's in rumors, but I'm also wondering, you guys sprung this on yourself.
Yeah.
Was it an urgency to get rid of Middlestad, maybe? Probably. But, I don't know. Byram would get a lot on the market, though.
Yeah, what is he, RFA?
Yeah.
So he's still RFA. He's team controlled. So he would definitely get something there. I mean, they just picked up James Reimer off waivers because there was Samuelson's hurt and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen's hurt. So they need a veteran in there. Look, I know Samuelson's been kind of in Lindy Ruff's doghouse, but like you said, their left side's loaded and they're all signed long-term deals. I know the Colorado Avalanche needed a second-line center, and they gave up Bo Byram. I almost wonder if they try to go get him back, but they were probably going to lose him anyway because of cap reasons, because a certain player is going to get paid.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing. Maybe it's crazy, but Zegras for Byram.
It's not.
That doesn't.
I think it could work.
Like Buffalo, they made it known they're looking for a forward. Anaheim, they're going to lose Cam Fowler eventually. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mintyukov. After that, it's Zellweger. But, why not?
I mean, remember how loaded the Anaheim Ducks defense was with the guys that they had before everybody left? It was Lindholm. It was Fowler.
Drysdale.
Vatanen was there. Like, their D, everybody was like, that's the best D in the league. And then all these guys that they had, and then they all moved on. So I could see, and he kind of fits what Anaheim's doing out there. That's actually a really good, fit. Because other guys in Anaheim are probably going to move, like John Gibson, Vetrano, Robbie Fabry, and Brock McGinn. Those guys are probably, I think those guys are going to be going.
Yeah, look, I don't know anything going on, but that would make the most sense. That makes more sense than Middlestad for Byram.
Yeah, way more sense.
For both teams.
Yeah, because it gives them what they need. You get a left shot defenseman in Anaheim that they need, and then you get the forward, and he needs a change of scenery out of Anaheim. He's not, like, to quote somebody that I spoke with, he's not a Pat Verbeek guy.
Oh no, I don't. And he's gone. He's gone
Yeah.
soon.
No, he's definitely
He's
gone.
another guy on our list of being gone. Like,
oh, he's out the door. Like the full press hockey, like out the door list. He's definitely one of them.
yeah, he's one of them for
So
sure.
look, I know because like Montreal was connected, New Jersey's been connected to it, and for me, like you look at New Jersey, right? And I'm gonna toot my own horn a little bit here. When I was on Sirius XM with Mick Kern and Victoria Matiash in the summer, Victoria asked me a question about like an area of weakness that I thought the Devils needed. And I know, granted, the other day they put up 4 goals. They still need a top 6 forward. Scoring, sniping, forward. That's what I said then. I'll say it now. And I'm seeing more and more people around the Devils saying the same thing.
Yeah.
They still need to find somebody to score. Look, Timo Meyer's got the TFP hot stove bump. He's playing well when we mentioned him there. But to me, look, they need somebody that can put the puck in the net. Like Jack Hughes is heating up, but they don't like.
You need that secondary help.
You need that secondary. Like Bratt's not that sniper. Mercer's now on the third line. You're paying him $4 million to be a defensive forward on the third line with Eric Haula. Like it's not. Tomas Tatar is not what he once was with this team. They needed somebody, and look, this is just my opinion, but I was talking with people even when this contract was going down. The Devils wanted Mercer at 3.5. If it was 3.7, they could live with it, or 3.8, they could have lived with it because then they would have had the room to keep somebody from one of their PTOs. Kevin LeBanc, who is now in Columbus, would have been, pretty good for this team right now. So to me, they still need a center because look, Bastian's hurt, Lazar's hurt. They need to get somebody there, take some faceoffs because the loss of Michael McLeod is huge. But to get a top 6 sniper is something this team desperately needs.
Yeah, and I'll ask you something. Do you think Zegras really makes sense there?
No.
Small playmaker.
No.
You guys
too much of
scoring.
the same player. It would then be like the Montreal formula for how many years did we say? Too small, quick, not big enough. Like Fitzgerald changed his team to where it got bigger, harder to play against.
Yeah.
They need
Zegras
a big guy.
Really
No, Zegras doesn't make sense. They need a big guy that can put the puck in the net.
Yeah, and he's the opposite. Small guy, playmaker. So maybe not the best fit.
No, I mean, you got to look at, who will be out there, who's available. Like maybe like if he's healthy and he doesn't really want to say, does a Brock Besser make sense to go back and get him like kind of full circle kind of thing,
at the time, Nietzsche's made sense this summer.
Right. But now
look what he's doing now.
But now he's become the playmaker that the Carolina Hurricanes definitely needed.
Yeah, he's not moving anymore.
No, he's not. That's over. He's not moving anymore. So you're gonna have to, obviously and I bring this up and we'll probably post this in Montreal. Everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, Devils, Josh Anderson." I'm like, that's not a fit either. Like, like let's end that. Like, let's end that discussion right now. Like, it always
Top
seems
6?
No, not with the Devils. No,
he's having a good year, but no, he's not even top 6 in Montreal. Keep him in his sheltered role.
Yeah, exactly. He'll be fine. So, I mean, look, the Devils need that. They need a center. Like we said, we mentioned Anaheim's got pieces. There's going to be, like, as they said during the GM's meetings, a lot of teams know what they are. A lot of teams don't know what they are. And then there's everybody else in the middle that really don't know who they are. And that's where things could get interesting later on at the trade deadline.
Yeah, and a guy who I wonder is going to be out there, it's Brock Nelson from the New York Islanders. And you just brought up a possibility for the Devils. He might be a great fit for the Devils. Yeah. Scoring, big center, but not only for the Devils, a lot of teams who need a center.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be a great fit. I mean, again, his name was out there last year at the trade deadline, like when the Islanders were like kind of teetering playoff team, not playoff team, consistent 30-goal scorer. Like, it makes sense. It could definitely work for New Jersey. I mean, the Devils and Islanders have done it before when, they sent everybody a couple of years ago to Lou and the Island, like Palmieri, Andy Green, as Zajac, all those guys, they went over that way. I mean, again, it all depends where the Islanders are, but I think Nelson in New Jersey would definitely make sense.
For sure.
That's a great pickup by you. Anything else you hearing out there before we wrap up the episode?
Not hearing much in Montreal right now. This week, coaching, that was a big, and George Larac, he got kind of rejected by the Habs organization. Apparently they mistaked him with Adam Nicholas, their player development guy. I don't know how that happened, but maybe it was a casual fan at the coffee shop. But I don't think he's really as wrong as people think. Maybe it's not gallant, but I wrote a piece with Full Press the other day, actually. They wouldn't mind the veteran coach behind the bench. And, are they going to act on it today? Maybe not, but they'll never say no. And maybe they're looking to see who gets fired first, in Boston. I don't know if he's on the hot seat because he just won a big game against St. Louis. But, it could change in a matter of 2 games. Jay Woodcroft, Andrew Brunette, you brought him up. So, I think that's something to monitor in Montreal.
Definitely. I think so too. I think the coaching hot seat's always out there. The coaching carousel is definitely something to watch. And, one more before we get out of here, I want to get your thoughts on this real quick. At the GM's meetings, it was brought up by Bill Daly that the tampering about July 1st. And, because we saw a flurry of deals, like literally a minute after July 1st opened, and they talked about tampering. I knew about Pesci to the Devils probably a week before it even happened. Like once they made the move, even before they made the move for Marino, like to send him to Utah, I already had people telling me Pesci was coming to New Jersey on like a 5-year deal.
You were on the job floor, right? And
yeah.
I'll imagine next year, hopefully we're on the job floor. We're going to probably know who's going who as well.
Yeah.
Because it's been years. It's not just last year that's happened. It's a few years now. At 12:01, Elliot Friedman's already tweeting who signed who. It's an obvious problem, and I'm shocked it hasn't gotten picked up earlier.
No, I agree.
What do you want to do about it?
Well, you could put a dating period back in because they took it away
and with the meetings and stuff.
Right, and also the schedule is not ideal for a grace period to have when your draft is over 2 days before free agency opens.
And the final was 3 days before that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's similar again this year. The schedule doesn't help the situation, and you can talk to agents, to families. You can't talk to the player directly, but we know. I mean, even before 12:01, I was coming home on a flight. I was looking at my phone at 10 o'clock. I'm like, we already know who guys are getting signed.
Yeah, the night before I tweeted Sean Monahan's going to Columbus. I knew the night before.
Yeah.
Right? And look, I'll ask you something. People that, free agents that are in the Stanley Cup finals and they're a free agent in a week from now, you think they already got reached out by other teams?
Probably.
Like Montour in Seattle?
I would have thought, I would think so. Because everybody knew they weren't bringing back Montour.
That's crazy, though. It's unreal.
It is unreal. I mean, look at the work Bill Zito had to do at the end of the year to do all of that in such a short period of time. But everybody knew they couldn't bring back everybody. They couldn't bring back Montour. They couldn't bring back Lomberg. They couldn't bring back all these guys. The target was Reinhart to keep him.
Yeah.
But they couldn't bring back everybody else.
I find it's unreal. You're with another organization, and when you're back of your head, you're like, so in a week I'm signing with the other team, Seattle. Yeah. Let's just say
it's crazy. It
needs to be stopped.
It does need to be stopped. So again, tampering's always been around. They've always found ways to get around it, but it's going to be interesting because it's going to be something to watch going into July 1st of next year because there's a lot of top guys out there.
Oh, yeah. Mikko Rantanen, he's going to be off the market. And I'll give it a few. I might give it a month.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a month. Shesterkin too.
Yeah, I think Rantanen will be off the market in a month, especially if he keeps playing like this because Colorado better lock him in.
Last night, he was on fire, man.
Yeah, he was. He's going to be a top 5 player in the league. Paid like a top 5 player in the league.
For sure. Even, we'll talk about, just to end it here. Free agents, John Tavares looking good so far on his contract.
Yeah, I think he'll get 3 years, maybe 4.5 from the Leafs.
I find he's been very impressive so far.
In his role, the problem is they don't have a second line center, and I liked his play. Not the captain anymore, not in the spotlight, can go play his game.
Yeah, for sure.
So and Mitch Marner's another guy to watch. There'll be other free agents that we get to talk to when we go around the league here on Full Press Hockey, here on the Full Press NHL podcast. Guys, it's up on iTunes, it's on Spotify, it's on Full Press NHL on our Twitter page. Get it up on YouTube as well. Jim Biringer, David Calabretta, as we bring you around the NHL rumors here on Full Press NHL. Take care.
Barry Trotz, Nashville Predators, making sure you're listening to Full Press Hockey Podcast.